What if you could help others to find the power to heal themselves? Physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
When I started teaching my classes, it was in 2002, and I was just doing the past life regressions and contacting the subconscious part. But then as the time went on and we found how powerful this was and what we could do with it, a lot of the students began saying, you know, advanced past life regression doesn't really tell what it's all about. This is so much more than that. We think you should change the name. So it was a few years ago we decided to change the name to Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And this is the healing technique that we've now been teaching it, well, since 2002, that's 12 years.
What if you could time travel with them? Visit mythical places or angelic realms, other worlds, other galaxies. Help others to speak to their higher selves. You can. Dolores has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT, and now you can learn her method by going directly to dolorescannon.com. And don't forget to mention the discount code MORETALKS. Welcome back to another edition of the Kevin Moore Show. Now on today's show, I'm about to be joined by my two guests, Renee Mullen-Masters and Marcella Robertson. Now Renee holds a master's degree from California State University. She is also the author of the book You're Smarter Than You Think, and her latest book is Peace Train, A Love Story. Now I'm also joined with Marcella Robertson, who is the associate producer for my docuseries They Call Us Channelers, and is the founder for MG Productions for Peace, which aims to promote peace, love, and unity through multimedia endeavors, creating content to improve the quality of life for all. Renee and Marcella, welcome to the show.
We are glad to be here.
Yes, thank you so much, Kevin, for having us. We're super excited.
Great. Hey, Marcella, I'll just say this, that people that don't know, obviously, people that do know as well, obviously, are doing the channeling docu-series, and it was Marcella, yourself, who was associate producer for that docu-series. So I've just got to thank you so much, Marcella, for helping me make that a reality, because there was a lot of hair pulling at the time. Is that right?
Yeah. We learned. Let's just say we learned a lot.
We did. Yeah.
We learned a lot.
Yeah, we did. And but without you, Marcella, I wouldn't have been able to make that possible. So thank you for that. And if people want to just check that out, that's just on channeling.com/documentary. That's still ongoing. That is, Marcella, believe that or not, it's still. There's still more to do with that. Okay, so Renee, thank you for joining us as well. I think you've got a fantastic producer there with you. I'll just say that. Now, obviously, this is an interview based on your book, Peace Train, A Love Story. Okay. And how long have you been on this project? I'm going to call it a project for now. How long have you been on this train for?
Probably about 4.5 years. And I started, I knew that this is what I was supposed to do. And so I started by writing the book because I had written books before. And I didn't know where the story was going to go. And this is where it went. And the ultimate goal has always been to bring a movie to the marketplace, and the book has been a part of it. So That's how it happened.
Yeah, and of course that picture just behind you, that's the image just from the book cover right now.
Right.
I mean, this is what's your background? Let's start with that as well. Where did you start?
Well, my educational background is in speech pathology. I have a master's in speech pathology, and I, for 25 years, marketed a book called You're Smarter Than You Think, which sold 150 copies, internationally.
No, more than that, honey. More than 150.
More than 100. I mean, it keeps selling. It's not stopped selling. And I've always been a spiritual person for some reason. I don't know why. It just happened. And so when I started writing the book, I wanted to write something that would give people a solution, because I volunteered for Special Olympics, and Eunice Kennedy Shriver taught us that if you focus on solution instead of problem, you solve problems. But most people just focus on problems, but I don't. I focus on solutions.
Okay, so you sat there, you set out to write a book, and kind of this was downloaded to you in a sense. Would you say that's
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. What was the goal for sitting down to write Peace Train?
I wanted to write a story that would inspire people, and other than that, I didn't know where it was going to go or what it was going to be. I love to be inspired. And so I wanted to write a story that when people sit down and read the story, they get up and they go, wow, I like to inspire greatness in people. So that was my goal, is to come up with a story that was inspiring.
Okay, what if you could explain the story just in a elevator pitch? What is it?
In an elevator pitch, I love that. It's a story about two Palestinians, an Israeli team that meet at summer camp. And it's a peace camp. And they become really good friends. They were enemies at first, but they became really good friends. They go home, something horrific happens to them, and it splits them apart. And the story is about their journey back to one another, to a place of understanding and peace. And they're able to bring that peace to their own world in a pretty big way.
So it's, obviously, I've seen some of your previous interviews, and you talk in those interviews about the divided times that we live in a sense, and of course that's still going on with the Palestine conflict and the Israeli conflict. What is that the message behind this book? Is that we can conquer our fear and we can all live in peace in a sense, and you've come up with a technique as well to that's basically a big part of the book. That's a technique that you've to kind of come up with that allows us to come together in a sense. Is that right?
Yeah, it's like it's really a simple idea, and the idea is if enemies sit down with one another across from a table and they just listen to one another. If we use the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, it's like there's really good people on both sides. There's nobody really wrong, but they don't hear the pain that the other has. And if they did, they would start working together to solve the problem. It's the same with Democrats and Republicans. They're really good people. Nobody's wrong. But we live in a democracy. We have two parties. Both parties are important. We need to listen to one another so that we can begin to work together, because if we don't, we live in a dictatorship. A dictatorship is where one idea is the norm. And listening is the key. And I'm not the only one saying it.
And this is what you call the friendship pod. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. But that came to you when writing this book.
Yeah, it was. Writing this book was really quite a wonderful adventure. And at the time, I had no idea what was going to come forward. And I got pointed to a a book that had to do with solving issues between people that are married. And it was a technique that I had known about and I'd used with my husband. And I went, oh, this is perfect. So I plugged it in. And there it is. And it's called a friendship pod. And when Jerry and I, my husband and I, would have a conflict, and he would tell me to change my behavior and it would piss me off, we would sit down and he would share, this is how he feels and his point of view from it. And then I would share my point of view about it. And then we just walk away. And within 24 hours, I could begin to see his point of view, and he got off it. He could begin to see his point of view, and the problems just solved themselves. And one of the problems was I wasn't shutting the front door when I came home, and it just fixed itself.
Something
it just solved itself.
As small as that, yeah. And some of these conflicts sometimes are really small, aren't they? In a sense, the personal conflicts that we have. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they can turn into bigger problems. And of course, when you're dealing with the whole thing in Israel, it surprises me that your story's going in that direction. When you wrote this book, I suppose you didn't think that was the conflict that you was going to sort of have the basis around to make this book.
No, but I have to tell you, it was really amazing thing how it happened. My former editor called me, said, "Hey, I just did an interview with a lady that's been doing these camps in the United States for 20 years." And I remembered when those camps started, and I had a real curiosity about what would happen. And so I went on the website and I read, and on it said the kids at the camps made friends instantly. But when they got home, everything fell apart. They became enemies again. And it was just, and I thought, okay, here's the story.
Yeah, I mean, the whole friendship pod, I mean, I guess it's even more important in times like right now where we're all locked down together. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and we can't escape each other so much easier. Yeah, okay. So, but you've never been to Israel or Palestine?
Not this lifetime, no.
Do you think that you've got a connection there from previous ones?
I have a suspicion I have.
Yeah.
Because I have, I don't know, it's stranger than fiction, but it's like, why was I curious about the camp? Why have I responded to this? I have met a lot of people from Israel in the process of doing research and talking to them about the conflict. And I feel like I have an understanding from afar about what's going on. And it's been an interesting journey just doing the research and figuring out, how did this all happen? It all happened it was just crazy where the Israelis came in and they not only occupied the country, but they occupied people's homes, and they didn't even take the personal effects out. They just, the Israelis took them out and burned them, but they didn't, they just went, think of that, somebody walking into your house and taking it over. And then the Palestinians, how they responded, they kidnapped their children and killed them. That's how it all started. That was the beginning of the conflict. And that was like, 60 years ago, 70 years ago? And it hasn't stopped because, and we don't even hear half of the stuff that goes on. There was a little 6-year-old girl standing out in front of her school, waiting for her papa to pick her up. And these guys came by and just shot her down.
Yeah, there's so many kind of horrific stories, isn't there? And that process is still going on, isn't it? In some respects. in different ways right now. I mean, you hear about it a bit less on television right now because obviously other things have taken its place. But, that's just one particular issue. There are many issues throughout the world that this could be applied to, and on a personal level as well. And obviously, you've kept plowing through with this, and it's become a bit more than just a book. You're trying to get a movie produced and filmed, and obviously it's become a bit more of a movement for you as well. Is that the journey that you've been on?
Yeah, and I'm not, I've been around for a while. And so I've walked into a lot of walls, and I've suffered like most of us. And I feel like I'm a messenger. And all this is, I just want to tell people, hey, you don't have to suffer like I did. Life can be easier. And here's one of the tools that you can use. And, if you want, read my book and feel inspired and go do something fun. It's like, eventually you got to get sick of walking into the walls.
Well, yeah, yeah, we walk into that wall quite a bit sometimes. Most definitely. And Marcella, obviously, I just want to bring you in as well. Thank you for what you just said there as well. Marcella, I just want to bring you in as well. So obviously, your background is in law. Is that right? Law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the most part. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you retired from that, and I'm guessing there's a lot of times when there was a lot of conflict within that as well.
And then there were the inmates.
Yeah, then there were the inmates. Right. Yeah.
Well,
Not just the staff. Yeah. Wow. So okay. So yeah. So you've got an interesting background as well, and you've come into this project as the producer for this. So how did you guys meet as well?
Well, actually, that's really cool. We met. Thanks, Kev. We met at a study group for The Way of Mastery. It's a book, and it's a spiritual book, and it's about how to master ourselves and become, to let go of the suffering and just exactly what Renee's talking about, and it's so it was a study group, and I met her there. And, you just start talking about stuff. And after my whole life, I've been really attracted to and interested in film. My whole family is really in one form or another, but we love film. We talk about it. We do. So there's just this base thing there. So then I meet Renee. Well, then you and I met actually after I retired, because I thought, why not do something I want to do now? Now I've got a retirement now, and I'm not in a wheelchair or anything. So, why don't I just look into this? And so I did. I made a little tiny company and called MG Productions for Peace, because I have found through my own journey the benefits of peace, the benefits in my own life, in my own body, in my own way. Creating peace for myself has opened up my life into such a better place, a happier place, a more fulfilling place, a more fun place. So this is kind of how that all kind of happened. So I meet you, and you were just like really gracious to bring me on board, no experience. And you helped me a lot with that project we did, with learning some of the ropes on how this kind of thing works to produce some sort of material, film related material. So that was really cool. Okay, so then now comes Renee in our group, and she starts talking about the book occasionally, and then the movie project, because she was with another crew at that time with some other folks. And so I just was like, wow. And so we just started talking about it. And then she was just like, would you come and help me? Just come on board. And I'm like, heck yes.
Yeah.
So that's how that happened.
Yeah, it was just divine timing, wasn't it? It was just the right time. You just moved to your new place and everything else, and yeah, it was the next project for you. Definitely was. And can you relate to the friendship pod, and you using that principle?
Yes, in fact, we decided to develop a podcast centered around this idea of the friendship pod and a listening. And when she told me about the technique, I was even confused at first because I thought it would be a back and forth. Well, I'm going to say something and then you're going to respond to what I just said. And it's not that. And I found that really fascinating. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, you just listen. You say what is on your heart. You say what is important to you regarding the topic of discussion. And that's it. And you listen to the other person give their, which is usually going to be the opposite of yours. And you don't develop a response. And it's so powerful. You don't realize how powerful it is because our innate feeling is to want to tell our side. No, that's not right. You this, bada, boom, shuts it all down. There's no listening there. You're not going to get anywhere. It's just creating more conflict if we're just so locked into our positions, right? So what I feel like this does, the friendship part of the listening technique, it loosens, just a crack for another, maybe something else for you to consider. And the thing is, you don't have to change your beliefs. You don't have to become them or the opposite of what you are taught. You just have to give it the respect it's due to listen to another person.
That's so important, isn't it? Yeah, and I love. I did get to listen to the podcast that you'd put together, and I loved it. I thought the production techniques were really good. I thought it was it's a really decent quality podcast, and we'll link that below. It's on YouTube, but I think there's obviously another podcast. Is it on iTunes? Is it or
yes
it is.
Yeah.
Well, we'll link that below as well. Yeah, we'll do that because that's going to be your next one you've got. I think it's with some religious people as well from different faiths.
Yeah,
that's correct. Go ahead, Renee.
And
tell them.
Well, I just want to say about the when we did the podcast with the Democrats and Republicans, the thing that was so bizarre, it was shocking. When they came in, when we started this, they were really quiet. Nobody talked to one another, and they sat down. Then they each did their 2 minutes and we took a break. Kevin, you should have heard how loud it got. They were talking with one another, not yelling, but just enjoy. They were enjoy talking to everybody. And it was loud. And it was like all of a sudden these people who didn't know one another, who were all over the place, got connected. Some kind of connection happened. And that's what we're talking about that's so important. And that's why they were able to just chatter. It was amazing.
It's funny because we had also instructed them not to talk to each other, to just let it integrate with yourself and walk around for 5 minutes or so, right? But no, and then we got sucked in. We got sucked into the conversation, and I'm like, wait, we're not supposed to be talking here. So that was really fun because, they got real comfortable. And what that showed me was if you can create an environment that feels safe, that you're not going to feel attacked, that you're not going to feel like your position is wrong or it doesn't matter or so if you can eliminate those kinds of things, I feel like miracles can happen and we can come together. And even though we disagree, we can at least do it respectfully.
Yeah, and reconnect, because that's what the story is about, isn't it? The peace train. It's about reconnection and healing in the end as well, isn't it?
It is. It's truly about that. It's like when you forgive somebody, you have to let go of something. And you can't do that if there isn't some kind of connection. And what I think they have discovered at the camps is that these kids, through the games that they play, they somehow get connected and they forget themselves and they become friends before they even know it. And I think that that's what the friendship pod does is that when that connection happens, it's like something changes, and the angst that's between the two sort of softens. And that's what we're talking about.
Absolutely, and I think it was Marcella that said this to me off air as well. It's about personifying your words here, Marcella, but it was about embracing, our differences, and without going to war with each other.
Yeah, right.
And it's possible. The one thing that I loved when Renee approached me about this project, I immediately related to it. And I'm not Palestinian or Israeli, but the meeting or the I just saw this little the project or what she wrote about was so relatable to me, and I felt like if I can relate to this story, I think that a lot of other people will also be relate to this story, and then hopefully, it might, like Renee said, inspire some people to look at their own lives and see what maybe they can do to foster some of this stuff we're talking about.
Absolutely, and this is for you both. I mean, this is a big commitment, isn't it, to try to move this
We
forward.
were just
right?
talking about that.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that today.
Yeah. I mean, this is a big project. I mean, I know it's like any project. It goes in different directions sometimes. It has a life of its own. It's you've got to keep moving it forward, haven't you? You've got. It's almost like. Is passion the right word? I mean, I guess it is. I mean, is this now your sort of full-time passion train in a sense, trying to get this going?
Yeah, it is. It really is. And there are some days, to be honest, like Monday, I just took the day off. I said, I can't do this today. I can't move the train forward today. I'm going to just take it off. But I have to say, I have been, it's really amazing how blessed I have felt on this journey, because the perfect people have fallen into my lap. I mean, literally, as we've moved along. And it doesn't mean we don't have bumps and hills to go over, but we're moving forward, and it's very exciting. It really is.
Well, yeah. I mean, for anyone watching this who are thinking about doing something, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a documentary, whether it's a movie, life isn't a straight journey, isn't it? It's no. And
it isn't.
No.
No, it's not. It's not a straight journey, and it's.
I should have said a straight road. That's what I meant to say, but my mind's
well,
a bit
it's
tight.
not.
Same thing.
Well, it's not a straight road, and you really have to stay, as hard as it is, you have to stay positive.
Yeah. What's this journey taught you so far, do you think, Renee? What I mean, obviously, because you almost got there with the funding for this movie, and I understand it was poured at the last moment, but it hasn't stopped you from going forward, because it was just it wasn't. What would we say here, Marcelo? It wasn't meant to be at that time. Would that be a way to put it? It's not the right moment right now for what was meant to be, but it will be.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
And Renee and I have talked about that, and how life sort of guides you if you allow it. Life will kind of guide you, and if it's not lining up right or whatever, it sort of will adjust, and sometimes we take it personal because it falls apart. But in that falling apart or change or whatever you want to call it, if you can just embrace that and continue forward, you will be led. It's been my experience anyway, that you will be led to this perfect kind of thing. And that's what we keep saying. That's what we keep reminding ourselves about. Okay, the last one did what it did, and yes,
Yeah.
and I wasn't with Renee at that point. I came on after that, but still, it's still the same thing. And excuse me. And so everything teaches us something, and everything pushes us into the direction that we're really supposed to be going in. And if we can just like not fight against that, we'll get there. We will reach the mountaintop.
And the thing, and the thing that I have to, really early on, we were working with a Chinese production company, and we raised 15 million. And at the last minute, after getting all the permits, which took almost 2 years, the Chinese government came in and said, "Oh, it's too controversial. We can't have you do this here." Anyway,
Like, oh darn.
But the truth is, way back in the very beginning, when I had the first face-to-face meeting with the co-producer, I knew that something wasn't right, but I denied it. I pushed it away. And so I feel like I'm lucky. I feel like I'm on a better track now this time.
Yeah, you
I'm
just see
doing
that's strange. Isn't
better.
it? When we deny those, we just know, don't we, sometimes that something's not right,
Yeah,
and we
yeah.
just don't listen to us. We don't listen to that voice, do we? And do you think that was part of your journey as well, to have that experience, as painful as it was, and as hard as it was, to appreciate more of everything that you've got now and what you're doing now, but also to know that you're going to listen next time?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, we as women, Kevin, you don't know about this, but as a white woman, we have been taught to shut up and stay in the background and don't be seen. It's like I heard that from my father, and we're breaking through that wall so that we are heard and can be heard. And I think a lot of what happened with that last journey had to do with helping me get more committed and stronger at being willing to be seen and to be willing to be heard. And here I am.
Absolutely, you've not given up, and that's the most important thing,
Yeah.
And like as you said earlier on, it's about getting the right people around you, as well, and that's a journey on its own. Do you know what I mean? Most times, finding the right people who have the same passion as you do, put in the same, amount of work. And I can say, Marcella, you've got, she is you've got a great person there to work with.
No.
She will push you through. Don't worry, to see this through. So what stage are you at right now? You're at so the book's been out for how long?
It's been out for about a year and a half, and it's doing pretty well. The Friendship Pod's got it going a lot on Amazon, and I have the reviews on Amazon are fabulous. I didn't pay them. I don't even know who those people are. So it was really great. I love it. And but where we are, we have the script pretty well done. We're redoing a little bit of refining. We're working on the budget. That's about done. And we have a marketing platform that's about done. And then once those pieces are done and the pandemic is over, we're we're gonna go talk to people about funding the film. And we're also, we're talking. We have some amazing people on the team that are going to help us get some high level actors, directors, that kind of thing on the team.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's
So,
got a great scope. This film has, and it's definitely got that very strong sort of message in there as well at its core. That we're all one, and love is the only answer really, in any conflict, and obviously coming together and listening to each other, and and embracing each other, as has been said earlier on. Now the website for this movie is peacetrainmovie.com.
yes,
Yes,
it
yes,
is.
yeah. Well, that's been
Yes.
coming up on the screen just so that people can go to that. Now I'm going to link the book in the description below. Obviously it's available from lots of good bookstores, but I'm just going to link the Amazon and Barnes. I think is it at Barnes and Noble?
It is. It's
Yes.
also on Goodreads. It's also on It's an audio. It can be. You can get it in any format.
Yeah.
It's audiobook. Any format.
What would be what is the help you're looking for right now? If there's anyone out there listening to this that thinks that they're inspired by what you're saying right now, because it's more than just a movie. It's like, as you say, it's a movement as well.
I would really love to have people to try this friendship pod with, everybody's stuck with one another at their house, in their house.
Right.
It would be so cool to have a family try this, sit around the table, have the kids and everybody share for 2 minutes what is important to you. Nobody ever asked me when I was a kid what was important to me. Wouldn't that be an incredible thing for a parent to ask a kid? And then what I would love them to do is to either post it on Facebook or on YouTube or wherever, and let us know what happened.
Actually, let me cut in real quick, Renee. Let's have them go to the Facebook page, because we have a Facebook page called Friendship Pod.
Yeah.
And then they can just that would be a great place, one central place for them.
Post it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's coming up on the screen right now. Yeah, that's got about 14,000 likes, I think, plus, and it has some good reviews of the book there as well.
Yeah, and it's so that's a good place. And I would just like to get this started. And I would, if you know a congressman or somebody that's in the local politics or whatever, it would be fun to do a friendship pod with those guys and see what happens. See if we can get people communicating.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what would be, if you had a vision for this work right now, what would that be for both of you?
Wow. I don't know. I would love a whole bunch of people, 100,000 people, to just be using friendship pods somewhere in their business, in a nonprofit or whatever, and just have that momentum bring a sense of peace to the world that is new and different.
And for me, Kev, I totally agree with Renee, what she just said. And based on what we're doing with the movie, especially, I would just like to see that also be a part of the inspiration for people to maybe take a look at what they're doing in their own life, or something like that. And, and hopefully they just really enjoy the story as well, to give them something to do, so an example to look at, and to see this really inspiring story that's so relatable. And I just want it to be really successful. My hope is that it can go international and just really hit and become super popular. So if we can accomplish that, whoa.
Yeah. I mean, if we spread that book all over the world and everybody was reading it and they felt inspired, that inspiration would shift the world. Inspiration is the most powerful feeling. It's like supercharged love. And it calls in all the dormant forces into your being to be more than you ever thought you could be. That's how inspiration affects people.
Yeah, one thing I'm changing my mind on how I view what I do right now is not. I don't think I ever want to ever have that word that I want to be the biggest in something in my head ever again, right? but to try to do my best at what I'm doing. I think that's the difference. Do your best. Try to offer something that's the best you can do.
But the thing that I have been looking at is that we're so much more than we realize. That life teaches us to play small and pushes us down. Oh, you can't do that. You're too stupid, whatever. And what I'm trying to look at is, wait a minute. Why do we have to live our lives suffering? Can we do something different? Is it possible to wake up every morning excited about what we're doing and where we're going and who we are? And I think it's possible.
Yes, absolutely. And when you started that journey, well, you've been doing it all your life. Well, you both have, right? But you're tuning into that now by obviously with what you're doing with this book that you started 4 to 5 years ago, and what a journey that's taken you on to get to this point. And I think it's showed you that just how when you don't give up as well, and you got to keep going, that you can be that which what you just described there. Do you know what I mean? You are that powerful, but we just forget it, don't we?
We do.
We do. We're pretty good at that.
We're pretty good at that.
And in fact, we are actually taught from childhood the opposite. Okay, that we are not expansive, that, like Renee was just saying, that we are limited beings, and we're just this human person, and that we have to go to school, and then we get a job, and we have a career, and then we retire and die. And I'm like, what? What is that? No. And so when I started to question things, and it's just led me to this place, we are right here in this now moment of really embracing that unlimitedness that we really are. But it takes a while to get there. You've got to do the work. You've got to get in there and do your own stuff to release all of and let go and let dissolve all those old beliefs that kept you stuck and kept you down. And once you do that, once you can get there, and things start to open up, and you do start waking up every morning and feeling that life is good, instead of, as I used to do, wake up when I was at my lowest, I would wake up and I'd start to cry, and I would say, oh my God, I'm still here. I didn't want to be here anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't feel that. I don't feel that way anymore. But I went through that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I think a lot of us do, and we're not honest about that. I mean, most people wouldn't come on to a podcast and talk about that part, would they? Because it's, we don't want to be seen to be that person, do we? But a lot of us have been in that space. So, appreciate you for saying that. And I think what's great about what you're doing right now is you're both spiritual people, in a sense that and I'll just personify here, we're more than our body. There's much more to this reality than what we understand, right? But we're here now, we're here in this moment now, and that, we've still got to have this human experience, right? Which is great. None of us are denying that. But I think with this particular book, it's a mainstream kind of subject, but with the spiritual ethos behind it. Do you know what I mean? Where that's tucked in behind it, and it can be brought out at any time, and but it's got that mainstream message there, and it's kind of everything combined, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's all there.
Well, I think that's how I wanted to write this story. That I didn't want it to be oozing spirituality. I wanted it to be oozing possibility and hope and goodness. And maybe I put a little bit too much goodness at times in, but I wanted it to be something that a lot of people could relate to. And yeah.
Is your hope to film it over in Israel? And
our plan is to film all the interiors in Portland, because we can get financial rebates. And then we're going to shoot the rest of it in Greece, which looks like Israel, and we can get a huge rebate from that. And then we'll shoot about 10% in Israel.
10%,
where we don't get anything.
Yeah. Well, it's difficult for filmmakers, isn't it? Do you think this will be I can't get the right word here, but a production that's self-funded in a way, that it's not studio based?
Oh, it's not going to be studio based.
You've made your
At least I don't think so.
Yeah.
No, this is an independent film.
Sorry, that was the word. Yeah.
An independent film, and we have done a lot of work learning how to do distribution before we even get the money. So we're hoping to do great things with this film.
Well, I think there's so many different platforms out there now, and it's you've only got to get with the right production company once you've got this almost down. and you may be surprised, who takes it off you.
Yeah. Well, you never know.
No, and it
It's
doesn't
all,
matter at this
every day
point.
is a surprise. It's a
Yeah,
surprise every
yeah.
day. Yeah. You
Yeah,
never know.
I know, and I suppose that that goes to that point of like no expectations in a sense. Just this is what you're supposed to be doing. This is what you're drawn to do, and whatever the outcome's going to be is going to be. Let's just get it done.
And expectations are killers. If you expect something, it isn't going to happen. If you can stay away from expectations and just, give it up, it works much better. Much
just
better.
allow the process to
Yeah.
we were talking about this again this morning, Renee and I. And I said to her, because we were talking about, what we were doing today in the now moment and all of that. And I said, we're right where we are supposed to be. I really trust that, because if we were meant to be somewhere else or doing something else, we would be doing that other, but we're meant to be doing what we're doing. And if you can kind of get that and wrap your head around that
And accepting that.
so,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
oh, I'm still here.
Yeah,
I'm still here. I'm still kicking.
Yeah, and being
all right, I'll do this. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh.
No, I think that's so true what you're saying there, Marcella and Renee. It's so true, and that you have to be happy where you've got to be accepting of the present moment right now and enjoy it, because it goes so quick. You'll look back on this time and you're like, wow, the filming went so quick that when we got it out there, it all happened so quickly. So and this hard work that you're putting in now, both of you, will be so worth it for the final production. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun for you both to get this done, and a very important message as well. So just last question for you both, and I'll start with you, Renee. What is the most important message? I know you probably said it already, but let's just wrap it up there. What's the most important message of your work so far, of this work?
The most important message is of this work, with what I've gone through, is don't give up. Because if you just keep moving, something wonderful will fall into your lap. And find ways to get yourself inspired. And I just it's absolutely amazing how it would be easy for me to give up, but I'm not going to. And I think that's really what's important.
This is what it's showing me and teaching me. I'm enjoying this so much, even through, ups and downs or whatever that happens. And I could actually even just say that about life, because there are times that we have a challenge in our life, right? And through all of this stuff, if you can just stay focused and go, all right, everything is in perfect order. The challenge is teaching me something in this moment, or showing me, or switching direction, there's just something beneficial even when you're struggling. So to remember that, and to embrace all this stuff, and just have as much fun as you can. And I'm very excited about bringing something like this that has a really good message, but will be a really inspiring story and relatable, and all the things that we've all talked about. It's really fun. I'm having a really, really good time. I'm so glad we're doing this together with Renee. And as a producer, I'm just going to shout out, if anybody is interested in investing, if they need a tax write-off or something, contact us.
No. If they want to be a part of something that is going to bring a whole bushel basket full of light to the world.
Yeah.
This is where you want to come. And we're going to do it really well.
I like that, the bushel basket.
It's a bushel basket of light. Yep.
Beautiful. Well, look, Renee and Marcella, just thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Kevin. You're great. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Kev.